Please rise in body or spirit as you are able as we sing our gathering hymn number 118, This Little Light of Mine.
Good morning. Did you happen to notice that we made the sun come out? That was us. We did that. It's so good to see everybody here this morning. As I look around, I see people I've seen before, and there's always some first-time people, and I'm always glad that there are some first-time people. I remember what it felt like when I was a first-time visitor at some UU congregations around the district, and they do a lot of business on Sunday morning, so they don't have time to notice visitors. So that bothered me. So I always think that when you come to a church, it's everybody's responsibility to greet everybody so that everybody feels welcome. I think that's a really important thing in our community. So just take a moment. First of all, before you do, just kind of look around gently out of the side of your eyes, see who's here, who you might like to greet, who might not have been here before. Just take a second, and now take a moment to greet one another. I'd really like everybody to feel welcome today. And greeted and welcome. That's great. Thanks for greeting one another, and you'll have an opportunity to keep those conversations going after this service, but it's so good to see a room full of people today. Welcome.
From A.M. Brown, put your attention on suffering, which is constant and everywhere, and it is all you will see. Joy will come and laughter, but you will find it brief and possibly a distraction. Put your attention on joy, being connected and feeling whole, and you will find it everywhere. Your heart will still break. You will know grief, but you will find it a reasonable cost for the random abundance of miracles and the soft, wild rhythms of love. Please join me in saying our affirmation. Love is our doctrine, compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration. build a community of caring fellowship, nurture the hopes, and serve the needs of our world.
Hey everybody, I'm John Chinberg, Music Director here at UUCS, and I just want to take a moment to thank Reverend Rick and the choir and you all for making me feel so supported here in the conclusion of my first term here, and it's really been a wonderful experience. Next, I'd like to introduce our introit today, Enough to Keep Me Going, written by David Yackel. Who's David Yackel? That's David Yackel right there. So, yeah. This is the world premiere of an original tune written by David, sung for you today, Enough to Keep Me Going.
The flaming chalice is a symbol of hope, the sacred, the quest for truth, the warmth of community, the light of reason, and more. Lighting the chalice helps to create a sacred space for reflection, prayer, meditation, and singing. Reverend Rick lights the first chalice for members and friends of this Unitarian Universalist congregation of Salem. The second chalice is for our partner church and friends in Šimunfalva, Transylvania, Romania. And the third chalice is for our children and youth in religious education and all around the world. Let us sing our flame into life. Rise up, O flame, light our light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy.
Young or young at heart, please join me up front on the stage here. Hello, good morning. Yeah, you can sit down there, that's fine. Hi there, good morning. Is everybody done with school yet? All right, one more week, okay. So this month, our theme in LRE is delight. So we're going to be doing lots of fun things this month. Oh, Hannah Jo, you want to come up? Awesome. I'm reading a poem today by a famous poet named Shel Silverstein. And it's called Dirty Face. Where did you get such a dirty face, my darling dirty-faced child? I got it from crawling along in the dirt and biting 2 buttons off Jeremy's shirt. I got it from chewing the roots of a rose and digging for clams in the yard with my nose. I got it from peeking into a dark cave. Hi, welcome. Hi there, good morning. And painting myself like a Navajo brave. I got it from playing with coal in the bin and signing my name in cement with my chin. I got it from rolling around on the rug and giving the horrible dog a big hug. I got it from finding a lost silver mine and eating sweet blackberries right off the vine. I got it from ice cream and wrestling and tears and having more fun than you've had in years. Okay, Lynn has a special announcement for birthdays of this month.
Okay, we're celebrating a few birthdays this month among the children, and I don't know if they're here today. If they're not, we mail their cards. So is Reese here today? I didn't see her come in. And Ava? I didn't see her come in either. Yeah. Ella? Ella, are you here? And Ashlyn? Okay, well, those are our birthdays, at least for the first half of the month. So we'll be sending these cards on. And by the way, the Jocelyn children are not here because they're in a ballet performance this afternoon, but 3 of them had a birthday, all within 2 weeks of each other. So, thank you.
Great. Okay, if everybody in the center can stand up and make the love arch, we will be on our way. And we have donuts for dads on Father's Day in the fellowship hall. So please join us for some donuts. Thank you.
Why don't you take a deep breath and just be in this moment, letting go of worries and anxieties, concerns. Just be in this moment so that you can focus your heart and mind and enter your life with intention. With the intention to be compassionate. Think of our surrounding community. You don't have to drive too far to see someone in distress. Not far from here, there's the Oregon State Prison. Other people nearby are incarcerated too. Not too far away, there are people in hospital beds this morning. Few visitors on Sundays. There are so many opportunities for us to be compassionate to other people. There's so many ways that we can help create a compassionate community. A community where people notice one another. A community where people smile and hug and care for the stranger. A community of compassion. Let's help build that community. For compassion is our way. And gratitude. Gratitude. I invite you to notice something beautiful. Notice something beautiful in your world. And then notice something else beautiful. And then continue. You'll never run out of beauty to behold in this world. Beauty that inspires, uplifts, brings us joy. Let us be grateful for the beauty we see in one another, and the beauty we see in this world. Compassion and gratitude. Let us walk that path, for it leads to joy, it leads to love, it leads to happiness. May it be so. Amen.
Good morning. My name is Kathy. I'm with Lifelines Lay Ministry. I have a lot of announcements today. We have what I'm going to call combination joys and concerns today. The first is from Greg Gregg. Margaret Gregg is in Canada helping care for her sister who is having a slow recovery from a stroke. While we are sorrowful about the slow recovery, we are joyful that she has this opportunity to reconnect with her sister and brother-in-law. Another combination joy and concern from Jean Logan. Multiple myeloma is treatable. Tom Lansfield has many more years ahead. Yay, woohoo! Woohoo! And this last one is a concern that had been a concern for a number of months that's now turned into what I would call a joy from Leslie Zeigen. 3-week-old Elora has had a successful heart surgery. And then finally, we light a final candle for the joys and concerns that are within our hearts and minds that are not written or spoken. Lifelines Lay Ministry, we're here for you when you need a supportive listener or a helping hand. You can contact us at the email address you see on the screen, lifelineslayministry@uusalem.org. And today is our Compassionate Connections Day, the second Sunday of the month, directly following the service. You can join us. We'll be heading back to Rick's office And finally, 2 more quick announcements. Today is also very exciting. It's Pet Therapy Day. And we have not only a dog, a pet, but a cat. So it's double Pet Therapy Day. And finally, part 2 of our Alzheimer's presentation has been rescheduled for the 22nd. It's a Thursday at 11 o'clock in the Fellowship Hall. So hopefully you can join us. Thank you.
Your great mistake is to act the drama as if you were alone, as if life were a progressive and cunning crime with no witness to the tiny hidden transgressions. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely, even you at times have felt the grand array, the swelling presence, and the chorus crowding out your solo voice. You must note the way the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants you freedom. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. The doors have always been there to frighten you and invite you. And the tiny speaker in the phone is your dream ladder to divinity. Put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle is singing even as it pours you a drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and seen the good in you at last. All the birds and creatures of the world are unutterably themselves. Everything is waiting for you.
Thanks, Barbara. That's a great reading. I really like that thought. So thanks for sharing it. And thanks for the original music, brother. That was so great. We were so grateful for that again, too. So many years ago, more than I probably will acknowledge, our it was a year-long theology class at Emory University where I studied for the ministry some years ago. The systematic theology class was the largest and the most dreaded class. It was kind of like the organic chemistry of theology school. We had to drink from a fire hose of information coming from the great theologians and philosophers across the span of 20 centuries. Not at all easy to wrap your mind around Kant or Hegel or Kierkegaard, and I'm not saying that I did, but relatively speaking, graded on a curve, I came out looking pretty good, except for one problem. And it came to a head one day when our two professors in this large class, I think almost 200 students, it was a third of the school because it was a 3-year program, so it was a large class. But one day the two professors, they handed out a paper to the class. It was printed on both sides. We had been earlier assigned a weekly theological position paper, and the class just wasn't getting it. So the concept, they just couldn't quite grasp what the professors wanted. So the professors passed out one paper by an anonymous student to use as an example of a paper that was well done, exactly the kind of thing they were looking for. The author had clearly stated what he believed and wrangled with it in a theologically sound manner. So they passed out the paper, and I was surprised to see that the author of the paper was me. Getting this recognition took away the sting of losing that spelling bee in the 6th grade. A sad story I shared last Sunday. Although no one but me knew who had written the paper since it was anonymous. Well, that's the good part. The harder part came when my professors later on, they pulled me over and they said, you know, you have a lot to add to our classroom discussion. How come you never raise your hand and contribute to our dialogues of learning? You should speak up, said the Trinitarian professor to the only theological Unitarian in that school of about 600 students. Emory University's Candler School of Theology was a liberal theology school, and I was accepted as a Unitarian Universalist from the get-go with the understanding that that was who I was, and the faculty fully respected that, and I learned so much there. I'm so grateful for the education I got there. But my theology often put me at odds with my fellow students. And I wasn't anxious to tangle with them over this in a large classroom setting, but as many people in the room as are right here, it's kind of intimidating, isn't it? I may have had good ideas, and I expressed them well in my writing, but I lacked the confidence to express them openly in that classroom setting. I didn't feel like it would be a fair fight, so I didn't engage. Now, who am I kidding? Who am I kidding? I displayed the same behavior earlier in the Zen Buddhist communities to which I once belonged, where we all believed close to the same thing. In San Francisco, in the very large Zen Buddhist community with lots of people who had practiced meditation in monastic settings for years, I had even less confidence. I was thoroughly intimidated by those black-robed, stoic-faced, shaven-headed monks. They seemed to know something I didn't. I wasn't going to speak up. Public speaking was incredibly stressful for me. And here I had chosen a calling that demanded regular public testimonial. Good planning on my part. Good planning. Actually, it was. It was good planning by my deeper self, I'd say, because I have had no choice but to learn how to find and express my voice and share it for the common good. So why was I, and why are so many others afraid of public speaking? Why, broadly speaking, are so few people willing to speak up? Well, to answer those questions, come with me on a special camping trip. We're going to a very remote region of Alaska where nobody can hear you scream. Join me now as we enter the region especially known for grizzly bears. They're especially hungry during this time of year. Catching something like you would be a Thanksgiving turkey for these hungry carnivores. And they're on the prowl. They're on the prowl. To get the full immersive experience, we didn't bring any bear spray. We don't have any firearms. We don't have any protective shelter or gear. But don't worry, there are rocks we can throw and sharp sticks we can poke at the grizzlies. That will only serve to irritate them even more. So actually, you should be worried on this camping trip. Some of us are definitely not going to make it back because this apex predator rules and they can smell your blood as they roam the forest, and it makes their stomach growl with hunger even more. And you can hear the growls. Oh, I forgot to mention on this camping trip, some scientists have used the DNA of ancient predator species that used to feast on human flesh, and they have recreated and introduced them into this environment out here in this remote region. It's sort of like a Jurassic Park experiment. You guess you didn't know you were going to be part of it, but so watch out for those giant hyenas and those saber-toothed tigers and those huge eagles that can pull you up and take you away, those snakes and the wolves. And get this, you have to worry in the ancient world about giant predatory kangaroos. Who knew? So be wary on this camping trip. Be very wary or be dead meat. Welcome to the world of our ancestors. Scientists say that life was like this for a good stretch of time, and we humans have been dwelling on planet Earth under those conditions. And for survival's sake, we have this perpetual sense of wariness woven into our DNA. We're wary, we're ready in case we're attacked. And that ancient sense of wariness, say the psychologists, still haunts us, still gets aroused when you, as an individual, face not ancient predatory beasts, but a crowd of people. And you have to speak to all of them at once. And this explains why I keep bear spray in the pulpit. Just in case. But now, we humans are the ones that should be feared on our planet because of our fearsomely powerful brains. But this new reality, only a few 10,000 years or so, is such a recent change in the vast span of time that this hasn't had enough generations to trickle down into our DNA. So we're still inclined to think we're out in the jungle there. So if you are, and there are other reasons why it's hard to speak too, but that's one of them. Who would have thought? So if you are to find your voice, you must not only conquer ancient fears, you must also conquer the fear of separating yourself from the collective herd and being yourself. Yet before you take that step, of course, you have to figure out who you really are, what you think and believe, not just what you have been thought to think and believe. And that means you have to be willing to learn something hard for many people. You have to learn to trust your inner wisdom. You have to learn to trust yourself, your inner wisdom. This may sound kind of like New Age stuff, but it's not the case. It's the central premise of our tradition of Unitarian Universalism, is that we all have within us an inner wisdom, a true self who is wise beyond your knowing. Think of it sort of like your own internal artificial intelligence. It can really answer questions and go deep. But it's a nice artificial intelligence. It's not artificial, it's a spiritual intelligence. I had a great professor in theology school, James Fowler. He was a great soul and a great scholar, internationally recognized psychologist of religion. And he interviewed many people, hundreds of people, about their spiritual journeys. And he recognized how people on the path of growth, if they are on the path of growth, eventually move away from external reliance upon the authorities, the experts, and they come to trust more in their own hearts and minds, their own experience, their own feelings. Dr. Fowler called this moving from, they're psychologists, so they have labels for things, it's moving from a conventional, synthetic, to an individuative, reflective stage of development. It's where you're thinking for yourself. Our religious tradition invites you, encourages you to make this shift, to take this journey of growth, because it's the primary step in finding your voice and finding your own voice. And this one step has two distinct aspects. Finding your voice. I found my voice, I think, when I was a young man. I think I found my voice, but then using it, that was harder. Finding your voice and then using it. Many of us find our internal voices, I think, but you can get stuck. Where I got stuck in theology school and far beyond because of the great fear of being wrong, of looking like a fool, of exposing yourself as being unenlightened according to the latest dictates of social and political fashion. So, yeah, the world's not full of giant hyenas out there that will take you down. Those guys were big, 250 pounds. Imagine having to deal with that. They're not out there anymore. But it sure seems like there are packs of jackals out there on social media who take people down and destroy reputations and careers if people stray from ill-defined, ever-shifting norms. I used to think that the 17th century pilgrims were cruel for putting people in the stocks in the town square to shame them. But at least the Puritans let the people out of the stocks. Today, once you're canceled, that's it. There is no forgiveness. Ours is a mean-spirited age, an angry age, full of vitriol. Not too surprisingly, given those conditions, most people on both sides of the political spectrum, the polls say, most people are afraid of sharing their true opinions. Because if you separate yourself from the herd, you might get taken down. But if you don't separate yourself from the herd, if you don't ever find your voice enough to exercise it, if everyone follows this collective path, consider the end result. It's a world where you keep to yourself, where you don't offer your true opinion, but rather the acceptable opinion. It's a world where no one trusts others enough to share their voice, where true democratic process is gone, replaced by systems of manufactured consent. It's not a good world or a happy world. It's a world of spiritual death, because we must be able to express ourselves to be fully alive in this world. A few years ago, a colleague of mine in the ministry, the Reverend Todd Eckloff, he was deeply concerned about spiritually oppressive conditions in our larger association that was shutting down honest, compassionate conversations, genuine dialogue. And he found his voice, and he wrote a book about his concerns, a book with which many here are familiar and found to be well within the range of acceptable discourse. Nevertheless, my colleague was roundly condemned and vilified by hundreds of my ministerial colleagues who were instructed to be outraged, even though many had not read the book. They wanted to shut him down, take away his voice by destroying his reputation. It was a shameful act that history, unless we topple into a totalitarian future, will judge harshly. But at that moment, it was many angry voices against Todd's one voice. Since Todd was a colleague and a friend, this suddenly became a pivotal moment in my life. The theology school student who was once afraid to raise his hand in class was now facing a big decision that would have significant impact upon the rest of my ministry. And that has proven to be true. I knew Todd, I loved the guy, and I also shared the concerns he was expressing. And I was serving in an office in the Ministers Association that gave me the unique power to help him. And I knew I had to choose. And if I had failed to speak out, as I was uniquely positioned to do, I would have lived with never-ceasing regret that I had failed. Not failed to have courage. I've often failed in that and will again, but failed in love. But I have a lot of love. You do too. And it was love for my brother Todd that motivated me to publicly defend him. It was love for him. It was love for the truth. It was love for our liberal free faith tradition that utterly compelled conflict-avoidant me to speak out. The Canadian Muslim author Irshad Manji, who spoke during one of our worship services during the pandemic when we were doing the services online, almost 1,000 people watched that service. Irshad Manji told Todd and I that we had displayed moral courage in our actions, most especially Todd, I would say. Personally, I think I have to downgrade that to moral gumption, because what was required of me was so much less than is required of dissidents in totalitarian regimes who faced the vast, cruel power of the state alone. That is moral courage. There may yet be institutional consequences for me for sharing my voice, for speaking the truth, as there have been for others, but I doubt it. I don't lose any sleep over it. But this entire drama has caused me to have a crisis of faith in institutions. And I've come to a clear recognition. Our true strength lies not in Boston, where the headquarters of our association is. Our true strength lies in our local congregation here. This experience of feeling especially called upon, challenged to speak out, and I didn't want to do this. I don't go seeking for things like this, but it came to me. This experience of forcing me to find and use my voice in such a public way, it was a radical and defining experience for me. It was extreme and unprecedented. Me, a middle child peacemaker. And it has led me to come up with the most radical idea of my entire ministry: the formation of a lay preaching guild, our homilists and storytellers. It's a unique program we've been creating here for the past 3 years. I don't believe it exists anywhere else. Yet it's a common sense notion that is in keeping with the true spirit of our liberal free faith tradition, which says that in truth we are all called to be as prophets and priests of the spirit of love and truth. This is not the purview of a particular group of professionals, which is to say, this is a shared ministry. And in August, we will be welcoming new members into our homilists and storytellers who will help you, train you. We won't tell you what to say. That's your job, but we'll tell you, we'll help you discover how you can share your truth from the pulpit. How about that? So if you're interested in August, be thinking about that. Please do. This program, this homilist and storytellers, inviting the members of the congregation, sharing the pulpit freely with them, comes from my concern that my fellow clergy hold too much power, especially institutional power. So instead of encouraging folks to learn to discover their own authentic voices, I think many of my colleagues today are insisting that we must listen to the one true voice that comes from above, from our association. People are made to feel that their one true voice is not important. People are made to feel fearful of exercising their voice. There are fewer and fewer opportunities for your voice to be heard, but it truly needs to be heard because of the truth and the wisdom that you have, Given this, and given the world we live in, this spiritual home, this congregation, is called to be a place that nurtures the growth of moral courage. That helps you along the path of finding your voice and using it. Trust me, you're going to need it. You're going to need it. Here's why. As I've often heard the story of people's lives during many years of listening, I have realized that everyone, not excepting you, gets to some pivotal juncture where life will ask of you, demand of you, challenge you to find your voice and to use your voice, your necessary voice, your necessary voice. There will be those times where if your voice is missing, then something important is missed. The great dancer and artist of life, Martha Graham, said it better. There is a vitality, a life force, an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there is only one of you in all time, this expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium and will be lost. Would you join me in a time of quiet, prayerful reflection? Each of us has been given a voice. Each one of us has been given a heart. Each one of us can look around and see things in this world that need to be named, that need to be recognized, that need to be affirmed, that need to be challenged. Your voice is part of the symphony. If your voice is missing, the symphony will be out of tune. Let's remember to trust in ourselves, to trust our own wisdom. Let us remember to share our wisdom as we can with others. Let us remember to speak honestly and truthfully and with love and caring and compassion and with courage during difficult times. Let us use our voices for the common good of all. Amen.
I invite you to generously share your gifts in support of UUCS. One of the things we do every week is donate nutritious food for the Salem community by dropping off food in the Little Red Wagon, which is making its way down here. If you forgot to drop it off earlier, you can come up and drop it in now. Each month, we share the gifts, our gifts, with an organization that exemplifies our principles. For June, it is the Nellie Thompson Dorothy Patch Scholarship Fund, named for two champions, two people who found their voices, of social justice, equality, and education in Salem. Reverend Nellie Thompson, founder of the Pauline Memorial AME Zion Church, and Dorothy Patch, teacher, community activist, teamed up over 40 years ago to find ways to improve Salem's racial climate. In honor of their legacy, the Thompson Patch Scholarship Fund provides financial assistance to Salem area ethnic minority students for college or trade school. For more than 2 decades, the fund has helped students who have faced obstacles in their lives and who have shown promise and resilience by overcoming adversity. For those who are here, please make cash contributions or write a check made out to UUCS. Please put these in the basket as it comes to you. To make donation online, visit the website, click on Donate, and follow the instructions. Your gifts, in whatever amount, are sincerely appreciated.
Hope you'll show up here next Sunday. There should be a question mark there. What's on your mind? Question mark for next Sunday, as we're talking about our services for next week. It's an annual tradition. I've gotten away with it for 30 years. I think I can do it again. I don't do a sermon. You just come in, you write questions on a piece of paper, questions you might like to ask a Unitarian Universalist minister, and I'll do my best to answer it in the time allotted for a sermon. It's kind of like improv from the pulpit. It's fun, and I hope you'll be here for that Sunday next week. Don't forget today that we do have a compassionate connection. If you've been going through a rough patch in your life and you just need somebody to listen to you, please do come up, join us up here, and then we'll go back into the minister's office. But it's a nice ritual, and I hope you'll consider it if you are dealing with difficulties in your life right now. Very, very simple ritual. So please do check our website to keep up with all the other programs and activities of the congregation. I hope you got a visitor packet if you're a visitor this morning when you came in, and that'll give you the instructions on how to sign up for our website, get our newsletter, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's all for the announcements.
As Rick lights the social justice lantern, reflect on your coming week. How will you use your voice to give someone else hope and delight? How will you listen, truly listen, to the voiced needs of a friend, a stranger, yourself? As Rick extinguishes the chalices, know that each of us is endowed with our own internal flame, which lights the way.
Would you please rise in body or spirit as you are able, as we sing our closing hymn, number 117, O Light of Life. We'll be singing verses 1, 3, and 4.
If you will, join hands and say with me our closing words. May faith in the Spirit of life, hope for the community of birth, and the love for the sacred in one another be ours now and in all the days to come.